Hi there, and welcome to The Celeb, the rise and fall of Shannon Beador, from relatable housewife to reality TV scandal. When Shannon Beador first appeared on The Real Housewives of Orange County in 2014, she was marketed as the epitome of the glamorous Southern California lifestyle. She had the Newport Beach home, the seemingly perfect family, and a personality Bravo described as quirky, refreshing, and fun-loving. At first glance, she seemed to be the kind of woman viewers would either aspire to be or root for as the underdog in a cast full of strong personalities. But as the cameras continued to roll, cracks began to form in the glossy image Shannon worked so hard to project. Rather than the confident and secure woman Bravo introduced, audiences witnessed someone riddled with insecurity, prone to outbursts, and reliant on alcohol as a coping mechanism. Her marriage to David Beador unraveled on screen, and every argument, every tear, and every glass of wine became part of the storyline. What should have been Shannon's opportunity to shine in the world of reality television quickly transformed into a public unraveling, one messy season at a time. From the very beginning, the Shannon Beador brand carried contradictions. She presented herself as the polished, perfect housewife, but behind the scenes, her life was crumbling. That dissonance between image and reality would follow her throughout her years on Real Housewives. The DUI that shattered the facade. September 2023 marked the moment Shannon's Bravo persona collapsed completely. Late one night in Newport Beach, she was arrested for driving under the influence. But this wasn't an ordinary DUI. Reports revealed that she had lost control of her vehicle, crashed into the side of a home, and then attempted to drive away before abandoning the car. When police found her shortly after, she was walking her dog as if pretending to be out for a casual stroll. Her explanation was a mixture of rage and poor judgment. According to Shannon, she had argued with her then-boyfriend, John Janssen, and stormed out in anger. Believing it was only a short 3-block drive, she decided to get behind the wheel rather than leave her car behind. That decision, fueled by emotion and alcohol, became one of the darkest public chapters of her life. The mugshot told the story better than words ever could. Gone was the composed housewife. In her place was a disheveled woman whose personal turmoil had spilled into the legal system. Fans were horrified, critics were disgusted, and Bravo faced the difficult question of how to continue featuring a woman whose recklessness had endangered not only herself, but potentially innocent lives. This wasn't the quirky or eccentric Shannon Bravo she once promoted. This was reckless and dangerous behavior that couldn't be excused as reality TV drama. The DUI was rock bottom, and it placed Shannon among the most infamous scandals in the history of the Housewives franchise. A relationship that ended in court. If the DUI showcased Shannon's recklessness, her breakup with John Janssen revealed an entirely different side, one of betrayal and questionable financial decisions. On camera, Shannon painted John as her RHOC, the man who helped her heal from her divorce with David. For years, the two appeared to be inseparable, smiling for the cameras, traveling with castmates, and presenting themselves as Bravo's next great love story. But the fairy tale began to crumble behind the scenes. In March 2024, John filed a lawsuit against Shannon, claiming he had loaned her $75,000 to pay for cosmetic surgery, including a facelift. According to court documents, Shannon never repaid the money. For a woman already dealing with the fallout of a DUI and years of negative press, the lawsuit was devastating. This wasn't just about unpaid debt, it was about betrayal. John, the man she once called her soulmate, was now publicly exposing her for financial manipulation. Though the case was quietly settled later that year, the damage to Shannon's reputation was irreversible. The story cemented her as the housewife who allegedly stiffed her ex over plastic surgery bills. What could be more humiliating than a love story ending in court documents? The lawsuit demonstrated more than Shannon's struggles with relationships. It revealed a woman who seemed reckless not only with love, but also with money and trust. Alcohol, meltdowns, and the spiral caught on camera. Over the years, Shannon's drinking habits became a recurring theme on RHOC. What started as a few cocktails at dinner turned into regular alcohol-fueled meltdowns. Viewers watched her spiral into emotional outbursts, screaming at castmates, crying uncontrollably, or storming off set in humiliation. Her co-stars accused her of being drunk and combative, while fans noticed the same troubling pattern. Whenever Shannon drank, chaos followed. Bravo capitalized on this instability, turning her struggles into season-long storylines. But the darker truth was clear. Alcohol had become both a shield and an excuse. Shannon herself admitted she enjoyed a drink or two, but often dismissed concerns by insisting she could manage it. Yet time and again, her behavior on screen suggested otherwise. Alcohol wasn't just a party accessory for Shannon, it was a way to deflect accountability and avoid facing her deeper issues. The friendship graveyard. If alcohol was one of Shannon's downfalls, her relationships with fellow housewives were another. Over her time on the show, she managed to turn nearly every friendship into a battlefield. Once loyal allies like Tamra Judge and Heather Dubrow eventually found themselves on the receiving end of her anger, accusations, and manipulation. What began as playful banter or witty one-liners escalated into toxic feuds. Shannon often played the victim, painting herself as misunderstood while casting others as villains. Fans who once enjoyed her eccentric energy grew weary. By later seasons, her drama wasn't entertaining. It was exhausting. The pattern was undeniable. Shannon burned bridges faster than she could build them. Instead of acknowledging her role in the conflicts, she consistently shifted blame. For Bravo, it was good television. For Shannon, it was the destruction of her reputation and relationships. Collateral damage. Her family. Perhaps the most heartbreaking part of Shannon's story is the impact on her family. Her 3 daughters were forced to grow up under the shadow of her scandals, watching their mother's breakdowns, DUI arrests, and lawsuits play out on national television. Long before the DUI, viewers had already witnessed Shannon's marriage to David disintegrate in one of the most painfully raw arcs in Housewives history. Every fight and every tear was broadcast, with her children often caught in the middle. Years later, the same cycle repeated itself. Public drama, toxic relationships, and humiliation that didn't just affect Shannon, but also the people closest to her. Her daughters never signed up for Bravo's cameras, yet they became unwilling participants in her public unraveling. For them, Shannon's scandals weren't entertainment, they were real life, and the cost was immeasurable. Financial cracks, Bravo's role, and the cautionary tale of Shannon Beador. Shannon Beador often marketed herself as the quintessential Orange County success story. She flaunted the sprawling Newport Beach home, designer clothing, and a lifestyle filled with lavish dinners and extravagant parties. But behind the glitz, her financial situation was far more fragile than she let on. The lawsuit from John Janssen exposed only part of the instability. Court filings, reports of debt disputes, and whispers of money troubles painted a very different picture than the one Shannon put forward on Bravo. Her income relied heavily on her reality TV paycheck, but her spending habits reflected someone living far beyond her means. It was a dangerous formula, unstable income paired with excessive expenses. Eventually, the mask slipped. Viewers who once believed she embodied wealth and security realized her finances were propped up by illusion. The glamorous image of the wealthy OC mom was little more than smoke and mirrors, hiding years of mismanagement and denial. The Bravo machine. While Shannon's life unraveled, Bravo's cameras captured every messy moment. From the collapse of her marriage to her alcohol-fueled meltdowns and her shocking DUI arrest, nothing was off limits. And as Shannon's scandals grew bigger, the ratings often grew right alongside them. This raises an uncomfortable question. Did Bravo enable Shannon's worst behaviors? Instead of stepping in when her drinking became alarming or when her emotional outbursts crossed the line, the network doubled down, turning her chaos into storylines that drove viewership. Fans laughed, gossiped, and tuned in, while Shannon spiraled deeper into instability. The reality is sobering. Shannon's darkest moments weren't treated as red flags. They were packaged, edited, and sold as entertainment. Her downfall became Bravo's profit, and when her scandals finally became too large to ignore, the network simply shifted focus, leaving Shannon to handle the wreckage alone. Her story exposes the darker side of reality television, a system where vulnerability and pain are monetized, where personal struggles aren't addressed but exploited. From relatable to reviled, there was once a time when Shannon was considered relatable. Fans sympathized with her failing marriage, her struggles with self-esteem, and even her quirky, over-the-top behavior. But over the years, sympathy gave way to exhaustion, and exhaustion eventually turned into disgust. By the time her DUI arrest and John Janssen's lawsuit made headlines, public opinion had shifted dramatically. What once looked like vulnerability now appeared as toxicity. Her drinking, constant meltdowns, and endless pity parties weren't endearing anymore. Social media became flooded with criticism. Reddit threads dissected her behavior, while online petitions demanded that Bravo cut ties with her. Fans who once defended her now admitted they were embarrassed to have rooted for her. Though a small group of loyal supporters continued to argue she was misunderstood, the louder chorus branded her a liability to herself, her castmates, and even the franchise as a whole. By this point, Shannon's reputation wasn't salvageable. She was no longer seen as the underdog housewife, fighting to keep her life together. Instead, she had become the problem. The pattern of excuses. If Shannon was consistent in one thing throughout her years on television, it wasn't growth, it was excuses. Every scandal, every fight, every reckless choice came with an explanation ready to be deployed. She drank too much because she was stressed. She lashed out because someone provoked her. She mishandled money because of misunderstandings. Over and over, Shannon positioned herself as the victim of circumstance rather than the architect of her own mistakes. The 2023 DUI was a prime example. Instead of fully owning her actions, she leaned into damage control, issuing apologies that felt more like PR statements than genuine remorse. Her words weren't about accountability, they were about preserving her image. The same thing happened with the John Janssen lawsuit. Rather than acknowledge she mishandled their financial agreement, she brushed it off as a miscommunication. Fans and critics alike saw through the act. Without accountability, redemption was impossible. And with every hollow apology, Shannon further cemented herself as someone unwilling to confront her flaws head-on. The ripple effect. Victims of Shannon's choices. Behind the headlines, Shannon's choices left a trail of people who bore the consequences. The homeowners whose house she crashed into during her DUI were left with the stress and expense of repairing the damage caused by her reckless decision. John Janssen, once portrayed as her partner and confidant, became a reluctant public figure in a financial scandal he likely never imagined. Her co-stars, Tamra Judge, Alexis Bellino, Heather Dubrow, and others, found themselves dragged into endless screaming matches, accusations, and manipulative tactics that damaged their reputations as well. But perhaps the most tragic victims were her daughters. They didn't sign up for the spotlight, yet they were forced to grow up with their mother's mistakes plastered across tabloids and television screens. For them, Shannon's chaos wasn't a Bravo storyline. It was real life, and it left scars that no ratings boost could justify. A reputation in ruins. Shannon entered the Real Housewives of Orange County as the glamorous, eccentric mother with a beautiful home and a seemingly enviable life. But she won't be remembered for any of that. Instead, her legacy has been reduced to a mugshot, a lawsuit over facelift money, alcohol-fueled meltdowns, and a long list of broken relationships. Her transformation is complete, from a likable reality star to a tabloid punchline, from a Bravo darling to a liability. And while the network may continue to squeeze ratings out of her scandals for now, it's only a matter of time before her story stops being profitable. At that point, Shannon will be left to deal with the consequences alone. In the end, Shannon Beador wanted fame, but fame magnified her flaws. She chased the spotlight, but in doing so, she lost her credibility, her friendships, and much of her dignity. The cautionary tale. Shannon Beador's story is more than the tale of one woman's downfall. It's a cautionary reminder of what happens when denial, reckless choices, and alcohol collide on the stage of reality television. For fans, her journey is a sobering lesson. Behind the diamonds, designer gowns, and champagne toasts, there's often a much darker truth. The question remains, does Shannon deserve another shot at redemption, or has her time in the Bravo universe run its course? Whatever the answer, one thing is certain: Shannon Beador will forever stand as one of reality TV's starkest warnings. Fame doesn't just expose your flaws, it amplifies them until they consume you.